the old parliament. And there has been several attempts to portray this peaceful occupation as violent. And standing from this protest site, I want to tell people who are not part of this struggle, people who are outside this struggle, the people who are the people of this struggle have never been violent. They have always been peaceful, and the occupation has always been peaceful. And these buildings are people's properties. They are not anyone's private properties. They are people's properties, and people have a right to occupy. Despite this peaceful occupation, today as people from the struggle, we have decided that we will withdraw from most of these properties except the old parliament and the Cornfield Space. Because people have gathered in the old parliament to send a very clear message to not only the executive but also the legislature. We want you to do the job. We have come here, we have stood here for 97 days, we have asked Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign, we have asked Ranil Wickremesinghe to resign, but for the last 3 days, these politicians have acted as if this country is their private.
My colleague Shrija is reporting from Colombo and she gets us the latest details from the ground. Shrija, we just heard the protesters saying that they will leave many official buildings that they had earlier occupied. Which are these buildings that will now be returned and who will they go back to, considering that the president has already fled the country?
Well, with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, fleeing the country, it has left the, in terms of the political affairs here in a state of limbo. Now, as far as the protesters are concerned, of course, they have also been receiving severe flack for, in fact, occupying several political buildings. Because if you remember, on the 9th of July, yes, there was a huge protest, a massive one, that was planned by various protesters over the, 1 week prior to this, leading to July 9th. Of the protest, which they called it, of course, the end game. And we went on to see how all the protesters from across the length and breadth of Sri Lanka converge at Colombo and eventually successfully taking over the presidential palace. And eventually we did, of course, see how they had even captured the old parliament, the parliamentary secretariat, and also Temple Trees, which is the official residence of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Just about yesterday, we went on to see when the news spread that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe will be appointed as the acting president. We went on to see the standoff between the police and the protesters for over 2.5 hours, after which the protesters managed to barge into this particular Ranil Wickremesinghe's office, and they have captured that too. So a total of 4 buildings were captured, but for now we understand the protesters, yes, have given out a clarification saying that enough is enough. We are handing over the political structures back to government, which means they will be vacating the presidential palace. They will also be vacating Temple Trees, which is Ranil Wickremesinghe's official residence, and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's office on Flower Road as well. But what will remain in their custody, what we understand is that the old parliament. Now, the old parliament, which is also the presidential secretariat, is within the periphery, the perimeter radius of Gota Gogama. Right adjacent to the old parliament is a site, a demonstration site, which was converted by these very protesters, anti-government protesters, for over the last 3 to 4 months, where they have been camping at that particular site for over 96 days now. Now, they say that they will not vacate that particular place until Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe steps down and also Gotabaya steps down as the president. So they say they will continue to occupy the old parliament, the presidential secretariat, while handing over the other political structures back to the government.
Right, Shrija, just to get a clarity, just to get a final clarification on this, that this decision by the protesters, can it be seen as a sign of the protest toning down, with them returning the buildings that they had earlier occupied, or is it just them retaliating to the criticism that they had gotten for occupying these buildings?
Well, it's interesting to look at it in this perspective, because if you see I'm talking about a protest that extended to over 97 days since April onward. Now imagine these protesters. Now they are from various parts of Sri Lanka. They all are, people from various walks of life, various students, teachers, professionals, and some have even lost their jobs. Now they have all camped at this particular demonstration site. Now the initial plan was, we will not leave this demonstration site, which is Gota Gogama, until Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa resigns. But subsequently, what happened was, even when Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, the chorus grew louder, even, demanding his resignation as well. So until then, of course, it's been very peaceful at the moment. Until then, there was not really any plans in terms of capturing the political structures or political buildings. But things went really out of control when the protesters decided to call for a massive protest on the July 9th. So when they realized that Gotabaya is not stepping down, Ranil is not stepping down, they decided to capture.
Srija, stay on with us as we continue to track the developments from Sri Lanka.